Hello, everyone, and welcome to a much more casual edition of The Crew of the Cosmic Orca. So we're not actually playing the game today. We concluded the first season of the show, and basically we're just here for one, so I can hear everyone commiserate and think back and call back to things that they did before. And if they have questions of their own for me or for each other or whatever the hell, then shit, they can go for it. But if you guys want to introduce yourself, go for it. I don't give a shit this time. So whatever order you want to go in is fine by me this time.
Oh my gosh. Let's start on the other side.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my name is Paul, and I played Aster Tillian III. That's weird to say in that voice.
Fun fact.
Fun
Are we doing
fact.
fun facts for this? Oh my god.
About the player.
Fun fact about the player.
Oh.
I don't know.
On the spot, just like I had to be all season.
This is particularly juicy right now.
Okay. Fun fact, I feel like we all sort of injected a little bit of ourselves into our player. So fun fact, I think I'm the only one who has a detailed notes app of questions prepared for the group, kind of like Aster might.
Yes.
You're not wrong.
Nice.
I guess we'll go the opposite direction. So my name's Trey. I played Squid, Esquire Cumberbatch. So, fun fact about me, not Squid. I just bought a car. So that was
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
What kind of car?
Tesla Model 3.
Holy
You
shit.
heard the Tesla out there?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
How many fingers have you lost? I'm kidding.
Only 2. I still have 8 total.
Nice. Congrats, dude.
Thanks.
That's pretty
Thanks.
Awesome.
Nice.
Also like Squid. I feel like Squid
Yeah,
would
he's
also
great.
have a high-tech car.
Like you said, we put a little of ourselves. I'm a techie guy.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I play Commander Kaylin Vess. Fun fact about me. Okay, recently I got into yet another hobby that's stealing a lot of my time and my money. I got into building Gunpla, which
Did
is
you
like,
really?
get like
That's
little
awesome.
Gundams.
No, it's awesome.
I've
awesome.
always admired it on Instagram, and then I even bought an airbrush so that I can like start customizing them.
Nice.
It's so bad, but
Have you been to Anime Egg Roll?
oh, they know me now.
Good. No, we were there a lot too.
Yeah, I love that place, and they're so friendly. They're so friendly. So if you're a local and in St. Louis, you should give Anime Roll your business because they're great.
They have
Nice.
anime vinyl,
Yes.
which I didn't even realize that was a thing. So,
I just
Very
learned that
exciting.
just now.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm Emily. I played Astrid. And a fun fact about me is I think just like Astrid, I would take the largest room and would invite everyone over for girls' nights.
Yeah, that was very Emily.
Yeah, no, I've witnessed that happen in real life. We went to Dragon Con.
Did you have a girls' night at
Oh my
Dragon
God.
Con?
No, I took the biggest room.
I didn't give a shit. I was in the fucking attic in that hell house. But
The shortest girl in the group is gonna get the biggest room.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Love that.
Thanks for bringing that up, Alex.
like I said, I didn't care. I was in the attic.
You did open the door. You told Paul to do the fun fact.
Yeah. I know I did. That's true.
I just had to back it up. So I'm Alex. I've been reffing this entire time. There's only like a partial truth to my recurring fun fact of being a rampaging alcoholic.
Holy God.
We have denounced the truth of it.
I'm not an alcoholic. I do enjoy imbibing in liquor.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just because I realized that whatever session it was where I finally remembered that I've never actually introduced myself at any point. Outside, like, the very
It's like 10
beginning.
episodes in.
It was like the snackaholic thing was actually just more of like a shout out to Mystery Science Theater 3000. But then I decided just to go for broke and bring up the alcoholic thing. But no, I'm not an alcoholic, kind of. But
That's what an alcoholic would say.
But no, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, an actual piece of information about me is, I mean, I do have, as you know, everyone's been talking about hobbies and things, but audio has been a mild hobby of mine. I actually I had a different podcast for a little while. It's still up. I might put a link down in the comments. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. It's fine. I mean, it was a commentary podcast, but the thing with commentary podcasts, when no one knows who you are, is no one cares. So no one really listens to it. I enjoy having it there because it is just conversations with my friends in my living room. That's pretty much the whole reason why I like doing this, because it's an excuse for me to get people over and just hang out, once a month or whatever, and just get people over and do things. So that's pretty much what I use podcasting for, as a tool for social activity.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out it's pretty fun.
It is pretty fun.
Very fun.
So that was another thing, too. I'll say a few things for Trey and Paul. As far as I'm aware, anyway, they had never done anything like this before.
Yeah, no, not a podcast.
Yeah. Emily and Richard are Emily is actually in the first episode of the other podcast I did. And then Richard and Emily are both in the second episode of the podcast that I did. And we missed the most important fun fact of everything that happened here. Emily and Richard got married.
I really thought that you guys were going to...
Yeah, so we actually met on the podcast.
They met right
fell
before
in
COVID. I met Richard right before COVID, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
We met
that
like
Super Bowl party.
5 months before the world shut down.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Just in time.
Yeah,
Just in time.
I met Paul and Trey online first.
Yep.
Because during the lockdown, I was playing D&D initially through Google Hangouts, and then eventually migrated over to Discord. But so yeah, I met Trey and Paul online separately, and then the four of them. I mean, Trey and Paul knew each other, and Richard obviously knew each other. They all knew me.
They were getting to know each other.
Yeah, they all knew me, and then I kind of smushed everything together from there.
There was a whole audition. We had to read lines. It was wild.
I will admit, I did handpick every single person that is here.
Whoa.
yeah,
I actually, that's why every one of you got reached out separately before I made the group chat, was because I was specifically I know a decent amount of people, but like I needed people that would take it seriously, but not so seriously. Like I was trying to find that fine line between the Geeks and Sundry Vampire the Masquerade actual play that they do, which kind of that one almost skirts the line on more just being an audio drama, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Between that and a Critical Role.
Yeah.
So I was trying to find people that could be that middle divide where it's serious enough that I will stay energized and invigorated, but also silly enough that I can throw Steamboat Willie at people and it just be fine.
Yeah. No, I thought we were a good group. And I think a lot of feedback we got from the people that commented on it was that we all had really great chemistry.
Yeah.
So
I think that worked because we didn't know each other very well before, and the nature of the crew was that they were still like there were little connections between them, but I feel like in real time we sort of got to know funny things about each other and push each other. I still remember the episode where I don't know why it came out of my mouth, but I was like, "Let me send Rami to Astrid's room," and you were like, "What the fuck?" Like, you made this look at me, and I was like,
I do remember that. I was confused that too. It's like you have your own room.
I know, but she had the good room, and I wanted to do something nice for him. But it was one of those character moments where it was, I think, because we were still sort of feeling out how we were, and I think it made it engaging for the audience too.
Yeah,
sure.
well, I would hope so. But yeah, I'm out of shit to talk about for a little bit. I just want to talk about how I picked you guys individually, specifically because I like I said, I knew all of you individually already, and I've played games with all of you already. So different versions of it. Emily Richard already played a previous edition of Traveler. Trey and Paul had never played Traveler before.
Cool.
So it was just kind of a good mishmash. But yeah, I just picked you guys because I knew you'd be the ones to take it the level of serious I wanted versus the level of silly that I wanted. So I needed I knew some other people I could probably have gotten as well, but I was just more concerned about how they would lean a little too, I feel like, on the sillier aspect of things.
Well, kind of on that topic, one of the questions I had was how did each of our characters maybe change and end up being something we didn't anticipate? And I'll jump in I have the problem with, and this happened with Aster, of I tend to make the goofball clown character, and I don't mean to. And with Aster, I was deliberately trying not to by making the stuffy, cold scientist. And I think episode 1, I was shooing the stinky zombie pile.
Yes, do that.
And I was like, shit, I made it goofy.
No, I was fine with it. That was
But I was too good.
It was so character, though.
yeah.
And I think
no.
that it made Aster an even more dynamic character because he was trying to be like the stand-up scientific dude, but he was a little goofy.
But yeah, how
In
did
his
you-
own way, though.
How did your characters end up in ways you didn't expect?
So for Squid, I kind of had like a similar thing where I wanted to make him irresponsible. I wanted him to be
You
like
did that. No.
Yeah. I wanted him not to be not untrustworthy, but just like kind of the let's go with the Han Solo to Kalen's Luke Skywalker. Like just like I wanted him to be like, yeah, like you could count on him, but he may not be your first choice.
Well, like, remember the moment in the hospital where it was bad cop, and I was like, oh, Squid.
That was good.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, my pulse was pounding a bit during that little bit there.
You like drew the shade and
Yeah.
it was like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, I was like, I don't know if I can keep up with this.
Yeah, that was crazy.
For Commander, I mean, episode 1, I tried to start, or I started as like the grizzly. I'm over it. I was in the military. Who are these young people? I hate everything.
I
Right?
remember that.
Yeah.
It didn't last.
It did not last long.
We're so
Because it was a
lovable.
little. I mean, actually, yes. Like, oh, this crew is fun, and I put a little too much of myself. I think because I'm like, I'm having fun with this group, and so I want to join in on that. I was just still, finding my character, finding my inner Kalen Vess. But I think, getting time together with the team, I think he opened up a little bit more outside of the grizzly voice getting tiresome.
Yeah, it's not fun to do.
It's not fun to do. But also, I think there is some character development especially after the flying truck.
Yeah.
Because I know he's the oldest, and he was like, I'm out of the military, I'm not getting my pension, nothing really matters, but my crew does. That's it. Then all of a sudden, I realize that I have this protective force around me a little bit, where this thing was about to kill me, but I've got this being that's kind of watching over, who's like, I'm gonna call in, who's the Godfather now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
exactly.
call in a favor, and I might not let you die until I use you in this way. So that's why the final few episodes, I'm like, well, now I'm going to go and party and do some wild stuff because I'm not going to die, and I'm going to get to know a little bit more about the universe in the meantime. So that was his character development. Did not expect that. So that was insane twist, Alex.
An interesting counterpoint, because like one of the things that kind of happened with Squid naturally was just like the way that Kalen kind of mellowed out over the course of the series of the first season. Like he made a good impression on Squid, and so Squid wanted to be more like him. So like that was what, like the sword training was like, oh man, that guy's really cool with the sword. Like, and then I can't remember if I said this while we were recording or not, but in the span, in the little time skip that we did, one of the things that I put some of the points into was into leadership, because Kalen's not going to be there forever. And that's something like when I started off, I was like, absolutely not. Like, that's not Squid. He does not want to be a leader. He doesn't want to take command. He doesn't want to be in charge of people. And, but like, if Kalen's not going to be there, somebody has to. And he was like, I can't just abandon everybody. I got to step up.
Respect. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I actually
pretty
noticed
cool.
that. They not even on the character sheet thing, not to interrupt the flow, but I did notice that kind of natural progression. Squid has been calling more shots as things been going on too. So I've been as much as I don't take notes, I do pay attention. Anyway, we'll continue.
Well, and you listen back so many times.
I
with
do
the
when
editing,
I do
which
that. So
props
I
to
do
that.
hear a lot.
So yeah, you probably saw the through line of the changes in Squid's character.
And just so you all know, Alex does a lot of work for this.
Yes, he does.
We show
amount
up,
of work.
we
A
show
good
up and we
amount of
have
work.
fun, and Alex does like the,
He
does the
does all
job.
of it.
It's a part-time job for me. Everyone just shows up, eats food, and leaves. I'm kidding. I'm not bitter. I'm not saying bitter about that.
We've done a couple things.
Speaking of bitter, how
Right.
did
Yeah. So
you started off like I'm a bitter bitch? Like it was this
yeah, so I
energy you had.
really wanted Astrid to be like just mad at the world and bitter and like just do everything with like just a sour face and just sour mood. And that obviously ended up not being the case.
No.
But I think that because her end all be all was just exploring the universe, and just she did that through delivering mail, which she got a lot of joy out of. But she was also very isolated and in that job, and so when she got to meet up with the crew, it kind of showed her like there are still good things to look forward to. Astrid also was way more flirty than I intended her to be.
I assumed that was a design feature, not a flaw.
That was a bug.
I really want to know how the two of yours' courtship went down.
What, Astrid
Like
Kate?
IRL.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to go into detail.
I was gonna say I was
I
not
asked her
like
out for
Okay.
to a concert, and she said no.
yeah, I was definitely not like Astrid.
So then I asked her out for coffee, and then she said no. And so my rule is 3 strikes, I'm out. So I did the Hail Mary, and I'm like, hey, Emily, gosh, I just happened upon these 2 Renaissance Fair tickets. Pff. I'm thinking about going this Saturday. Do you want to go?
And I'm like, fuck yes. Let's go.
So the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, the coffee
The coffee was
Coffee
no, because
was
she was like, we've
hell
got
yeah.
coffee at the office. I'm not going to go. And I was like, all right.
But Ren Fair's
That
special.
sounds like a thing Emily would say. Why would I go out for coffee with you? I can just get it at work.
Yes.
What's wrong with you?
Because that's where we met. We met at a marketing agency. And yeah, we both shared the office. And so that's
Yeah.
where we were at.
Yeah, I was definitely not anticipating the level of flirtation that was happening.
No, and I wasn't either. And I think it was because she was so isolated for so long, and she was
Boys.
not.
Suddenly,
Like a crew full of dudes.
Yeah, and everyone's attractive apparently. Like that's why I was like, is he hot? And you're like, and you were always like, yeah, kind
it's
of. I'm
space.
like,
Everyone's
oh.
hot.
You watch Babylon 5? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but she also like she was one of the older crew members too, but she wasn't old. Like
No.
she's 34, and so she's, looking for the Mr. Astrid.
I can definitely tell how, like, for some folks, so, like, because when I was talking, so we had a group chat before we did anything, because I was explaining the rules as best I could for everybody for the system. And
Sorry. Drop my phone.
party foul. But so I was explaining everything, and the one thing I tried really hard to kind of like drill into everyone is like, don't over plan your characters because of how Traveler's character creation system works. Like, up until you're 18, plan the shit out of that. Like, detail every year of their life up until they turned 18. But once you hit that point, like, don't get too dead set. But I also kind of know how people who play RPGs work. You like to plan. So that was when I made the house rule thing of like, well, at least your first term will be free. I'll let you get into that one, so at least you have that without any issue, because I already knew everyone had kind of planned what they were thinking about doing. So I think you were wanting to go for a lot of terms, if I remember correctly, in Scouts.
Yeah, I wanted to be a lifer.
Yeah. And you didn't get to be one, so which is the beauty of Traveler, is you don't get to, like, you were one term out before you got
God
a
damn
pension.
it. I'm still salty about that. Like, as a player, I'm like,
So
great.
close. Yeah.
Paul was the only one to actually just like leave a
Yeah.
career normally. Everyone
Yes, I
successful
called it
career.
early.
he was
And
the-
it was specifically because I wanted to be young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Trey, actually, in all honesty, Trey, you were the most Travelerly character created guy
Yeah.
ever, because you just were like, womp womp.
What do I do next?
Yeah, pretty much. You embodied the idea of travel, because you went in without a plan.
None.
Because like you start off with the agent career, which I had to keep reminding you. I think that you
had
had
done
that. And then you were that merchant career. If that was your big one, I think was the merchant.
Being the broker was kind of how meeting Yancey and like that was just a cool. I was really appreciative when we got the chance to kind of bring that up.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't a thing that I was like, oh man, I can't wait to do that. But when it happened, it was so fun to be like, oh, I get to kind of show everybody else a little bit of the darker side of Squid. Like, really cool.
And on that, I think definitely that, Trey, your character is like the poster of what a traveler character can be created like, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of embodiment, I definitely think all of ours.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Got it. I mean, so one thing I will admit, I definitely underemphasized for the most part till the very end how fucking squishy Traveler is.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, you played it pretty easy on us.
I didn't want anyone to die right away, so that's why the combats were grossly unbalanced in your guys' favor. And then I was kind of just gradually. So the fun thing about that last fight, which we'll talk about if you guys want to ask me questions about how I was plotting things out, that fight with Saul is just normal Traveler combat.
Oh, really?
That's how lethal Traveler combat is.
Nice.
I just whiffed some of those rolls. So
I will say that some of the like on the moon where we had to fight the first guy that. Even though the fights were scaled down a bit, they still felt tension. Like it's still like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
right? Yeah. No, I whiffed a lot of those rolls too. Like I said several times before, like I do not aim to kill the people playing at the table, but like at the same time, there still has to be that threat. There has to be that tension of it, especially when Astrid got downed.
On the roof?
On the roof, which we kind of fumbled how that went. You were actually still up. I just misremembered the rules for how that went down, but I think it still made for a dramatic moment. But,
that was a great moment.
Absolutely.
And I think that was when it finally really like fully clicked in everyone as well. It's like, oh shit, we can't just fucking die from an errant bullet. I am not playing a level 15, barbarian in this currently.
Yeah, I don't get to shrug off damage like that.
No, it's very tricky for damage rolls. You might be hearing a train in the background right now. That's because that's where I live, is right by an active railroad.
That's so crazy because
So-
when we didn't have the headphones, you could barely hear it.
Yeah. Now you guys get to see what I hear, or hear what I hear.
That was just a starship going past.
Right, yeah.
A freighter.
Yeah.
The freighter, yeah.
Is the
exactly.
Skyhammer?
I
So-
know.
So, do you guys have questions for me that I can potentially answer? It will knock me out first because why not?
Well, you mentioned that near the beginning of the campaign, right? It was more like you did a DM thing where it's like, I'm going to water down the combat so that we can have fun as a group, do our thing, without it feeling like we are walking on everyone.
Right.
And then, of course, Final Combat, you did it like Raw Traveler. So, like, as a DM, then, there is that balance between fun and pure gameplay. How do you find that balance in the middle of combat or in an encounter?
I make it up.
Make it up?
Yeah. So the boss fights were definitely planned. Like, I actually had stats written down for them. And then for any minion-based things, now the regular old zombies, I actually didn't even bother having you guys attack those anymore because your armor. Like, there was no way for me to justify leveling up those because they're dead. They're all messed up because I have to make that Night of the Living Dead reference every time I talk about zombies. So, like, those, I didn't even have you guys roll for that anymore. But, like, like with some of the other monsters, though, or even the people, I just took those out of the book. Sometimes what I would do is I would drop their protection rating a little bit because sometimes it felt a little high. And one thing is if you are going against people with the same level of protection you do, combat can turn into a slog.
And that's not fun for the listener.
No,
if it's just
no.
back and
I was
forth.
always trying to keep it a little more on the speedy side of things. So yeah, I just would kind of pick and choose things. Like I would look at your guys' character sheets. I would see like what do I need to change from this to make it a little bit more balanced. I need to bring it up. There was a couple of combats though where like with like the fight for Saul, he actually had tiers of like what his damage. That's why he kept getting more damaging every time he was attacking. Every time he got more hurt, his damage actually was going up.
Oh, okay.
He just didn't quite hit that point to where he lived long enough for you guys to kind of notice it completely. But with like the gun combat stuff, typically I would have different weapons assigned with different levels of armor piercing depending on who was being targeted. So like a lot of the times, Astrid had the most armor for the majority of the game, so that's why she tended to get a little bit more damage dealt to her, was because I needed to keep that part balanced, as opposed to like something shooting Squid, who most of the time was wearing a suit. So I would dial it back a little bit that way. I will say going forward, though, I'm going to be a little more by the book on combat, because I want to keep that level of lethality going, just so that way you guys don't storm the front basically every time you get into a combat, and make a little more tactical choices there.
I make no promises on Squid going back on his fashion choices.
That's fine. I gave you that armor specifically because I knew what you guys were going to get into.
Yeah.
So I needed
And
to.
I appreciate it. I would have died.
You would have actually died like a couple rounds before. You actually probably would have gotten killed by that initial attack.
Yeah.
Would have killed you. So.
I kind of knew I was willing to. Like, character, I wasn't planning for Squid to die, but I was like,
Right.
if he dies, like it'll be a
dies,
dramatic moment, like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be true to character if he just suddenly was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear all this armor. Like, he's been about business. He wants to wear his suit.
Yeah. But that's why I gave you that armor, was specifically because of where you were at. But to
Yes.
answer the original question, no, I just fucking wing it.
Nice. Nice.
Are there some moments that, like, what are some of your favorite moments as the referee from the game that you can kind of go back on to, like, man, that was really cool?
So the zombie planet situation. So that actually had a chance to not happen. So the whole time, like when you guys were running away and I was rolling, I was actually rolling the explosions to basically see. And that's why I could describe a few of them too, because they were close enough that I want to let you guys know if weird shit was happening. Basically, I just set my target number for that was 8 on that, and I was just rolling 2 6-sided dice. So the couple that were like nearby were 7s. And then the one that actually was going to cause an impact, I rolled a 12 on that actually. And then I rolled a d4 after that to decide who was going to get hit. And I always do it in order. So it goes Emily's 1, Richard's 2, Trey's 3, and Paul's 4. I rolled a 2, which actually wasn't the number I wanted. I wanted a different number for that because I knew I kind of had a little bit of an idea of how Kaylin's thought process was going to go with that. So I was hoping it was going to be someone else, but I was going to let how the dice go. And then for damage, because I knew it needed to count, I rolled destructive dice for that. Which, for those that don't know, just to explain that, destructive dice is a d6 or 2d6 or however. It's basically a same number of d6, but you multiply that result by 10. And I rolled 2 dice for that, and I rolled a not small number for that.
So that would be like the amount of damage it would have
Yes,
done?
before protection.
Oh, nice.
So I think, I don't remember, I know I put it in the group chat. I think it was like 40 or 50. It was a huge number. That would have absolutely killed you had you not done it. But there is an actual, like, I can hear it a little bit, and then one of my friends listed, he can hear it too. When you described yourself going back in front of the car and said, I take the car, I'm actually internally panicking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you could hear a little bit of it in my voice because my tone changes a little bit. When I said all right or whatever it was after that, like my tone increased a little, like the pitch of my voice went up a little bit because I was like, you're about to fucking die, dude.
And you still regretted it. You were like, God, I should have taken the
I
car.
should have taken the car.
Yeah, you should not have. Kaylin would not have made it to the end of the adventure. I mean, I still
Yeah,
wasn't.
imagine how that would have changed everything.
Yes, would have
I
been
know.
Yeah,
crazy.
character death. And I mean, there was a part of me that was kind of like, do I fudge this a bit? Then part of me was the more loud voice in my head was like, no. Let it happen. But so that's
that was
ultimately
a stressful moment
for everyone.
For everyone.
That was also my favorite thing to edit. Because I added that little sound effect at the end. I added that in.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah, that was, as I even told my dad that too. It's the finest moment of editing I've ever done is working that sound effect in. because I had to separate out all the tracks and space it out a little bit and put that in there in the right spot and make sure that it wasn't too loud or too quiet or anything like that. Just for this thing, it took less than a second, and I spent a lot of time making sure that I went through all of these sound effect databases to find the right sound.
Nice.
But that was probably the moment that I enjoyed the most out of that, because that, I mean, if you let it happen, I mean, it just would have been what it was. But then I gave you the luck point, was not so much that you, because I don't even know like what that does in the context of Traveler, because the sheets that we have are a little different than the normal sheets. That's why they have like sanity and all that stuff in there. That was more because I suffered the same problem Akira Toriyama did. I just forget shit. So I needed that on your sheet so I wouldn't forget that. But yeah, no, that was probably the best part, where I got to finally just kind of actually partake in a little bit of role playing, because I modeled Aurelius after John Delancey's version of Q. So I modeled that whole thing off of. So
Cool.
And I just got more like I kept it really subtle at first, and then by the end of it, no, I was just very on the nose.
It was very John Lance. It was great.
It was.
So
And I do think that it worked out best that it was Kalen, because I feel like his reaction was so markedly different from how any of us would have reacted to it.
So the thing was, though, is no matter who got targeted by the car, Kalen was still going to be the one that got talked to.
Okay.
Make the call.
No matter what happened,
Okay.
it was going to be Kalen that got the conversation with. That's why I didn't want it to be Kalen.
Gotcha.
And in hindsight,
That
I
makes
should have
sense.
just not had you involved in the
Right.
role. I was just so in the moment of things, I didn't think about it.
Sure.
But yeah, it was always going to be Kalen that got talked to
So he would have had to make that decision
for someone
for
else.
someone else.
Oh yeah, that would have been really different.
No,
Yeah.
I'm so thankful it was me then.
Yeah, because you would have had to choose, like, do I sell my soul off or do I let my friend die? What basically was the choice would be, as opposed to I sell my soul off or do I die?
Oh, okay.
I would have been more upfront with what was going to happen if it was one of these three. But because it was you directly it was happening to, that's why I was much more coy about what was going to happen. Because if I told you flat out, you're going to fucking die if this truck hits you, then you're going to be like, well, I don't want to die. I feel like that's a basic human response to being told that my alternative is living, but I'm going to get plucked from the universe later on, or I'm just going to get crushed to death by a car. I'm going to take the weird omnipotent being that is offering me choices.
I think you made it like he was struggling. with
Oh
the
yeah, no, I
choice.
could
Oh,
tell.
yeah.
And like I said, I was panicking when you went back to
really?
do the car. I am so glad you said expandable shield open, because if you hadn't said that, I was just gonna let it happen.
Oh, really?
But because like you were just going back to the normal spot, and I was like, all right, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna kill Kalen this episode. But when you said expandable shield open, I was like, oh, thank God.
all right, yeah.
I have my out to not kill Kalen this episode.
Aurelius never felt Deus Ex Machina. He always felt like whatever he was gonna do, it came at a price, and so like it was really cool because he'd come in and help, but like it never felt good. It never felt like
That
a
was
good
the
thing that he
goal.
was coming in to help.
Yeah, I based it, like I said, predominantly the performative aspect of it was definitely John Delancey's Q, with a little bit of Half-Life's G-Man thrown in there. So just more of like the making deals thing, is because Q was always very direct about stuff, but I needed a little bit of coyness mixed in there, and the G-Man fit that. So I kind of was mostly Q with a little bit of G-Man mixed in there. So
Speaking of NPCs, do you have a favorite NPC?
And is it Raul?
Raul is a fun one. The only problem with Raul is that since Raul is not something I created, for those that don't know, the character of Raul Panther is actually based off of the lead singer of a band called the Proto Men. The whole thing with they even flat out said it's the Proto Men at one point in the show itself. My personal favorite NPC, honestly, outside of Aurelius, because Aurelius it kind of crosses a line, because he is omnipotent. So that's not he's fun to play as. But my personal favorite, honestly, it's Michael.
Okay, that makes sense.
But Michael, so this is another thing with me too. Michael is a legacy character for me. I didn't play a lot of D&D growing up. I actually played Vampire the Requiem. That was my main first system, was New World of Darkness, Vampire the Requiem. And I made a character for that. He was a Deva named Michael Dillon. The Michael part was directly a reference to the Lost Boys. Because that's the older brother. His name's Michael, and that Dylan was just a name I picked out just at random. I have no idea where that name came from. I just picked it, and I played him. I actually played that character so long that he went from we had the game take place in St. Louis. He went to New Orleans, and he went to Texas. We changed systems, and I kept playing the same character. Then he went to Texas, and then eventually I retired the character because I didn't want him to die. So he became a car mechanic, but then anytime I've run a game...
He became a car mechanic.
He was a motorcycle mechanic specifically. But he was only open at night. But he was open 24/7. He did all the work at night, and then he had staff for the day. But then he just became a NPC of recurrence for me. From most games I've played after that, and then he's typically, if I'm in a more normal or futuristic setting, or even like a 1920 setting, that's usually the name I go with, is Michael Dillon. But Michael Dillon's probably the favorite because that's also where Michael Dillon's essentially just me. So that's the reason why I like playing
as many of our first characters are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why Michael would be my favorite of the recurring NPCs. As far as any one-shot NPCs, Yancey was fun to do. Because I just was making that shit up off the top of my head. Also playing Winchester the bartender.
Yes,
For a little bit.
Western bar.
For the Western bar. Because I threw on a really shitty Southern accent for that. So that one was fun. I would say
Nelly has a Southern accent too, right?
Well, Nelly's got the Miss Minutes
Yeah,
thing
it's like
going on.
Yeah.
It's Southern, but it's very like
It's very cartoony.
high pitched, twangy,
Yes.
cartoony. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whoa hi squid.
Nelly's my
Yeah, that's
personal
theme park
favorite.
Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
DNA
exactly.
thing from
Theme park
Jurassic
stuff.
Park.
Yeah, Mr.
Yes.
DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
We found mosquitoes and amber.
Mosquitoes.
Shocked it's not AI Fieri.
Anthony didn't do a whole lot. He just made food.
That's a lot.
That is true.
He had new recipes every session.
Yeah,
and-
well, I'll admit it's the only use of AI I do is ChatGPT. I asked it for that because I don't have the fucking patience to put menus together. So I just would be like, so I had chat. Basically, what I did is I asked ChatGPT to make a menu based off of what a robot version of Guy Fieri would make.
Nice.
And so I just used that for a while, and then the first couple ones were like only like one option. So then I started asking for vegetarian options as well, so that way that would be in there. And so then that list was just kind of a thing. And then I did ask it for a last meal menu.
I remember I was like, I think we're getting last meal.
You did. Specifically what I asked it was a last meal.
There was character development in AI Fieri. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy.
HK was fun too.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Come on now.
So HK is a direct ripoff from Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
HK 47. That's what the statement thing that he did. That is how HK 47 talks in Knights of the Old Republic. But that is a fucking nightmare to do improv. So that's why I stopped doing it.
Fair.
Was because I
We
just
did not
sucked.
trust him at all.
No.
No, not at all.
you had really
We
good
wanted to
reason
push
not
him
to
off the
trust
ship.
him.
Like literally push him.
It wasn't until he let a kid put a sticker on him
Yeah.
that we were like, oh,
Yeah.
He was like, oh, he likes kids? Ah, yeah,
He's
he's,
fine.
he's
Yeah,
fine. He can stick around.
So we were on that topic for a while. Any more questions that you have for me specifically? Or do we
Not
have
for
group
you.
questions?
You answered the ones I had for you, and we kind of answered all the ones I had for each other.
I had, at least we did have a couple people kind of reach out with questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe in the future we'll put like a link somewhere people can send questions.
There's
And if
a
we do
thing
another
I
one of
think I
these,
can turn on Buzzsprout, I think.
we can do that. Eric said, is there a chance we'll ever find out explicitly how Raul knows how to use a power suit?
Rami's the one who did that.
Oh, Ram.
Oh yeah, it was Rami. Well, okay.
Rami did.
Rami.
There is a chance. I mean, the easiest way is just ask him. But so with Rami, Rami and Saul, I actually rolled them. as
Oh,
characters.
okay.
You
cool.
had them created.
So
yeah.
I actually created them from start to finish. Saul had a lot of prisoner terms.
We did have a question about Saul too.
So yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, so Rami actually went through character creation as well. Now I kept it. It was more limited than I would have done because I didn't want him addicted to anagothics. So, but he definitely had a slightly different career path than Aster did. So it started off a little bit differently. But funnily enough, by the book, the requirements to wearing the battle dress is not that high. You just need vac suit skill to do it.
Interesting.
Now, their battle dress is also super illegal. So that's why it's
we were pretty far out.
Yeah, you were very far out for that. It was on an illegal installation. So, but yeah, it is possible to find out how he learned how to use battle dress.
Question from me: what was in that armory closet that we couldn't get
The
into?
one we couldn't get into with the
yeah.
hands.
Because we can get in it now, right?
Battle dress, power suits.
I actually didn't plan anything for that.
Yeah, okay. So it's just a
It
random
was basically
loot
if you
boxes.
guys opened it, I would have just pulled whatever. I probably would have put something like big and dumb in there.
Yes, I love big
just,
dumb
just for
explosions.
that. You guys wouldn't be able to use it very well because I don't think any of you knew how to use heavy weapons at that point in time. But
It would not have stopped us from trying.
points for trying. But yeah, so yeah, I would have just made up something, probably maybe some extra armor for people or something like that to do, or some extra stabby bits or shooty bits. It probably would have been anything too fun. Just would have been. This would have been like maybe just like I said, one of those like a fusion laser Gatling guns or whatever that's in the book or something
Nothing
like that.
fun, just a fusion laser.
That sounds pretty fun.
Fine. All right, next question that we got is from Wes, who's a big Star Wars fan. Says he's curious about Saul Arcadius. Wants to know that there's a Star Wars character from the KOTOR series called Saul Karath. Was there any inspiration behind that?
Well, Richard named the character. That's on you.
Apparently, both Sauls have a grudge that kind of is very reminiscent of each other. So
Oh, no, that's pure coincidence.
That's pretty cool.
That is pure coincidence.
I was just the only thing I went off when I made Saul was like he doesn't like Kalen. That's all I have to go with on this because he got
He
him
was my
thrown
rival,
out.
or
Yeah.
not the...
He was your enemy.
Enemy, that's right.
Yep.
That because he committed mutiny on my ship.
Yeah.
And so, not my ship. It was not my ship at the time. But no, it was pure coincidence. I just had that name pop up in my head. I was
Nice.
just like, trying to build
Arcadius
that
thing's like
story.
from Dune, isn't it? Something like that. Like Arcade.
That's Atreides.
Atreides, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know where Arcadius came from, but I was just like, you know what?
worked.
It's going to...
it's
Yeah.
a great name.
I mean, he's fucking dead now, so you won't hear it from
Yeah,
him
no.
anymore. But
R.I.P.
And then I based that whole boss fight was actually it started off more like Albert Wesker, and then it slowly transformed into fighting William Birkin. Was kind of how that fight was going.
Cool.
That was what I based off that. But yeah, no, I actually forgot all about that character from KOTOR, so
Oh, no worries. It worked. It just kind of
it worked out well.
small galaxy.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Was there another? Or was that
No,
another?
that was one.
So that actually is an excellent segue. So one of the fun things that I will always describe to anyone that wants to do any kind of DMing, GMing, refereeing, anything like that, your best friend is plagiarism. You just gotta skirt that line just enough to where it's not quite the same, but yes, you just gotta do it. Joe Cat has a great video called "How to Be a Dungeon Master." And there is specifically a spot, and I actually have a clip of it somewhere, where two people were like, I forget what was happening, but he specifically says, "Don't make me sick the light gray walkers on you."
yes, I remember that.
So I use that as a frame of inspiration all the time. So pretty much when I was initially getting this game together, I actually wanted to do a Resident Evil game. That's what I wanted to do. But that felt much more limiting in scope because, Resident Evil is a single player video game with a handful of online things, but they don't take very long. It's very localized. And I was like, but I also wanted to do something sci-fi. And I was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to put them together. And so that's why I had... So basically every monster I 100% just took wholesale from Resident Evil. I didn't even bother not renaming them half the time. That's why I kept calling the weird Komodo dragon things. Those were based off of hunters from the recurring enemy in the Resident Evil series. The shirtless gray skinned man is a Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. Except they always wear like a full thing. I just kept his pants on was all I did.
And that's the one we couldn't befriend.
Well, that was one of the Komodo dragon lizards you couldn't befriend. You couldn't befriend anything. But
Not with that attitude.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Then the one that was fought in William Sinclair's old office was Nemesis. Was what
With
that
the
one
worm?
was. Yeah, with the
I
tentacles.
hated that.
That was Nemesis. And then, like I just said, the Saul Arcadius thing, that was a Wesker transforming into gross William Birkin monster boss battle.
I truly thought you were Chekhov's gunning us with the picture of the beagle. I was like, we're going to fight a zombie beagle.
Not going to lie, I completely forgot about that.
Same. When you, yeah.
Until you said it, I was like, oh shit, I did have that. Oh, too late now.
I truly thought it was a Chekhov's gun moment. I was
I
like,
also-
we're definitely getting to have to fight a zombie beagle.
Yeah. No, I actually completely forgot because there was such a gap between
Yeah, it was
everything.
the longer gap.
So that whole gap that happened, which granted listening to the future won't matter, but there was like a 3-month period where we didn't post where I wasn't uploading anything because I didn't have anything to do. So I made an announcement about it, but my apartment flooded at the beginning of this year, which is
was
still
a
really
lot
weird
of
to think
water.
about. Yeah, it was a lot of water. Yeah, very, very flooded out, mold damage, all that kind of stuff. And so we just didn't have a place to record for a while. I had more stuff kind of as a plan, but one of the things for me, I do not like it whenever and I don't listen to like a ton of actual play podcasts, but I don't like it when stuff gets dragged out for no real payoff. There's one in particular, I don't want to name the name of it just because I just don't want to. But they had quite a few episodes where they didn't get anything done. And it's only every other week, and they're still in the same spot. Like, I waited 2 weeks for this. Like, it's just characters are. If I wanted to listen to people argue with each other, I'd go watch the People's Court or something like that. At least that's every day. But, no. So, I mean, that's just... I didn't want that to be a thing. So that's why I'll admit I railroad a little bit, but it is to keep things flowing, especially for a narrative focus. That's why we only had 18 episodes. I didn't have like a ton more planned. Some of that stuff I'm just going to redo for season 2. Which does anyone have questions about that?
About season 2?
Yeah. I don't know when we're going to record that because I've got some other stuff that I'll talk about in a little bit here, kind of planned, but or anything that happened at the end of season 1 that didn't get addressed that you want to at least.
I'd love to know what the scope of season 2 is going to be like now that we have so many, like a fleet, basically.
Yeah, a capital ship.
So you guys actually you own the capital ship. You don't get to take it with you yet.
Okay.
It's going to take
'Cause
so long to build it up.
It's going to take a while to repair, and you owe a shit ton of money to get that thing
That's
fully,
fair.
to get it out of the thing. So you guys just still only have the Cosmic Orca.
Okay.
I was listening when I was editing the last little bit of session 18. I was like, I feel like I'm thinking everyone's in one spot and everyone else is in a different spot while I'm describing this. Like, I'm envisioning you guys are still on the Orca, but I'm pretty sure you guys think you're on the Stadium Arcadium.
I heard that too.
Yeah, that's kind of
And
how
I
it
was like, yeah, no, you guys weren't on the Stadium Arcadium. In my head, you guys are, because you own it. It is yours. You claimed it. But it is not able to be taken out yet because you owe a shit ton of money for repairs. So,
Okay.
We're going to need to pay Kyle a lot of money.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been stocked.
So we're still together.
You're still going to be together.
Okay.
So it'll be the 4 of you together on your ship. So it's going to be a little more episodic-y in a way. I'm going to get real weird on you in some stuff.
Cool.
It's going to get a little trippier for a few things.
Like drugs.
Not quite like drugs. Again, as I said before, plagiarism is my best friend. So it's going to be some trippy things that I have played that's going to be influencing it. There is a very specific a custom level of a game. I don't want to spoil what it is yet. That came out last year that I'm very intrigued by, that I'm going to try and throw you guys into. I'm going to try and do it while Kaylin, the character, is still around. because that is the thing that's going to happen randomly, is that Kaylin will leave. And then, Richard, you'll have to make a character in the middle of the show. I don't know how that fucking works. I have asked so many things. I've read so many things on Reddit, and no one seems to actually know. I just assume that normally in Traveler, everyone dies at once, and you just make a whole new group of characters. Because no one seems to actually like have like a consensus on what to do if someone dies like mid-campaign. So,
I mean, I would think you would. You can decide if you do it on pod or not, but basically just run the character through those cycles
yeah,
again.
and then just give you some bonus points. That way you're kind of caught up with everyone.
Yeah, and then have that
as well.
moment in the podcast where it's like, and Richard, welcome back to the table. Please tell us about your new character.
And it's easy, and plus the Video Travelers, the connection rules still happen, so you'll still know two of these people.
What if it's
Oh,
like
sure.
Kaylin's-
Okay,
because connections
yeah.
are still a thing.
Kaylin's
So
like
you guys,
son.
you three won't get any more
Balin.
points, but he'll still get his 2.
Okay.
So yeah, so you'll still get the connection. So you'll
Okay.
still actually have it won't be ham fisting you in there. You'll be like, well, shit, we need another guy for our crew, and Trey or Emily or Paul or whoever could be like, well, I know a guy. I never talked to him before until just this moment.
just
You need to
didn't
think
come
about
up.
it. Until it just never came up. My friend Bob Jenkins.
Bob Jenkins,
Who was also a mailman.
Yeah.
but he made it.
What could be cool, and I think this would work good for the audience, is that you and Richard could record the character creation,
Yeah.
but then that episode wouldn't come out until after the episode where they meet the new
Oh,
character.
I like that.
Because then they could be like, oh, okay, we met Bob Jenkins, and how cool was that it was an old
Character name's Bob
mailman
Jenkins
from
now. I'm sorry,
Astrid's
Richard.
past.
If we say it enough, you have to make it.
Bob
and then
Jenkins, Bob
and then
Jenkins.
later it's like, episode 19.5 comes out
You see the upbringing.
on the opposite Tuesday, and it's like, here's just a quick 20 minutes where Alex and Richard made the character for the nerds who want to hear it.
That's pretty
Needs
cool.
to be there.
Yeah,
Because people like the character creation.
People do. I mean, I've noticed a lot
It's
of
fun.
podcasts I listen to. They do. Some of them will record it. It depends on the system. When
This system lends itself
It's
to
the
it.
best. It's my
Call
favorite.
of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I
also,
agree.
if it's fun listening to people make characters for that, it's much more time intensive than Traveler. But
This was good for an audio medium. Like it doesn't take too long, so you're not sitting there slogging on when is this going to be done. But it's exciting.
Right.
There's events that happen.
Exactly.
There's
There's
stakes.
roles.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing so like. I had a thing I was going to go on, but I don't remember anymore. So I'm just going to let that sally out and die. But
We got a chance to ask you a bunch of questions. Are there other questions for each of us? Like, do you guys? I know, Paul, you said you had some
We
questions.
kind of
for
answered them already.
We
is
do.
the
We do
problem.
all of them. Okay.
No, I literally had one where I was like, tell me about that moment where Trey pulled the blind. Like I had written down about the bad boy. And then I wrote a question for Richard about Kaylin's sort of heart to heart he did. Because that last episode, it was obvious to the listener that you were clearly being like, I want to make a special moment with Astrid and with Aster. And you talked about why you did that. And then I think the question I had for Astrid was about her thrill seeking and kind of extrovertedness. And you talked about being on the ship by yourself. So y'all were on the same brainwave as me.
Totally.
Awesome.
As we were the whole season.
yeah, for the most
It
part,
really was.
I was just going to ask some favorite moments that we haven't talked about. If anyone has any.
I mean, the whiskey and waffles and the
Yeah.
and pancakes.
For
whatever
sure.
it was.
Absolutely. That's up
Absolutely.
there.
And that was when we
remember
got to meet Vasquez.
That was Vasquez. That was her introduction.
Yeah, that was a whole that whole episode was just really fun. Just
That was
the
super
randomness of bounty hunting.
Yeah, that was a fun one to edit too, because I don't know if you heard it, but every time we were switching scenes, I kept changing the background music. To fit the
Yeah, it was
theme,
really
yeah.
good.
So that's actually, I'll let you guys answer your favorite moments questions though before I talk about what my game plan is, also with a few things going
Yeah.
forward.
No, also
so.
the Rami on the ship with the Rambo moment where he was.
Yes.
That was excellent.
I think it was funny when we all met Rami for the first time and Aster hadn't seen him in a long time. And it was in the stairwell and he just took out a guy
pulled
with a
out the
gun and
pistol,
we were
yes.
Yes.
whoa,
This man's
who is
packing.
this
Oh,
guy?
he's a badass. Okay,
Yeah.
I like him.
No, they kind of set the through line for why it made sense for him to show up in the battle dress. Because
Yes,
the whole
true.
season, it was like Rami kind of had this hero complex of where he wanted to be.
None of us were surprised. Like, of course it's Rami.
That was also random that happened.
Oh, cool.
I had
But
a
it made
table of
sense.
things. I mean, it was the one that was stacked most towards it happening, but there was also a chance you guys were just going to get like arrested and taken some bumblefuck somewhere else on that ship.
Yeah.
So like before we go back to everyone, so my DMing, refereeing, game mastering style, I subscribe to the ideology of just fuck it and just go with the flow. So I do very minimal planning before every session. I pretty much know like the key encounters that need to happen, but I let everyone else kind of fill in the gaps for the rest of the way, because I view any game, be it D&D, Traveler, Savage Worlds, Call of Cthulhu, anything like that, I view it as collaborative storytelling, and I don't particularly like over planning when I do these things. I prefer to under plan, so that way I don't get so dead set in what I think should happen. And that way, that's why I don't like modules for a lot of games, is because like if someone tries to deviate out of the module, well then what the module doesn't compensate for the fact that they burned the village down. Like, you know, that's why I don't like those, is because like it doesn't account for insane murder hoboing.
Which we didn't do much of
You
that.
didn't do any of that.
Well, I mean, we did try to eliminate all of those people that tried to kill us on the world with the hospital.
That's not murder hoboing. That's defending yourself. That's two very different things.
We could have stopped. We
there
could have stopped and
was-
walked away, and we didn't.
Yeah, you guys were pinned down. Like you couldn't get out from where you were.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't have a choice.
When we talk about favorite moments. One of my favorite moments was Squid getting sniped.
Yeah,
In front of
you-
like,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
that was
yeah.
great. Like I was like, oh, gee.
in front of the hospital.
And then we went after them.
Yeah,
It was
the
great.
hospital was
Yeah.
a wild time.
Yeah, I like the hospital. It was a good set piece too.
For me, it was Astrid attempting to befriend the mutant beast. For sure.
I have never seen Alex laugh as hard.
And for frame of reference to anyone that wants to know this, I have known Emily for almost like 20 years, I think, at this point. So that's saying something for her
I
to say
know.
that.
Literally.
I mean, I just remember it's like, can we befriend it? Oh. It's like, I was like, that's where she'll die. I was like, she's going to get smacked trying to
Honestly,
shake
I
the
had the
hand
same
of this
thought.
mutant.
From my experience with role playing games, you don't know unless you ask.
Yeah,
Very
And so
true.
we
wrong.
could-
you weren't wrong.
yeah. So we could have had a cool
Monster
third
pet.
mutant.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, the system doesn't have a speak to animal spell. So
One of my favorite, I guess, reoccurring moments is that the glass of water and Kaylin
Yeah.
thing. Like that was just so
was like
I
random.
don't remember how that started.
I think I like had a glass of water, or I asked for a glass of water somewhere, and then
you asked, because that wasn't even like a beginning thing.
No.
it was when the drink machine was introduced. And
asked for a glass
I
of
gave it
water.
like a handful of like alcoholic choices, but I also just like offhand mentioned it also can make tea, coffee, and water.
so I got water.
So you got water because Astrid was getting fucking drunk as shit.
She got both.
Yeah,
I got both.
because that was also right after your very first meeting with Aurelius.
Oh, that's
So
right.
you like
yeah.
needed a minute.
Yeah.
But it became like that's how you end the day.
Yeah, have water. And that's one of my favorite things about role playing is finding things about your character that happens from the group. So now it's like, when everyone made fun of it, it's like, oh, he's going to have his water. It's like, there it is. That's going to be a thing
Yeah,
now.
because
Like,
when you went to
lean in.
when you went to the saloon, like you ordered actual alcohol.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, 'cause
Remember
they came.
in yet.
Kaylin and Squid came back tipsy, and then but they were so drunk.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
were like,
we
we
were-
gotta sober up.
Yeah, it was fucking
Because we were
gone.
trying to drink
yeah,
with
I was the most
Vasquez.
Which you didn't like have to do.
No, we
That's
had
the
to.
best part. You guys did
No,
it on
because I
your
was
own.
doing the thing where it's like a TV show, and we came back to the scene, and
Yes.
I know I throw you for a loop a couple times because I would just jump into the middle of a sentence I was saying, and you were like, "Oh shit, you're telling her about Aurelius? She knows about that."
Well, she knew about Aurelius. She only knew
knew
about Arden. That's what she knew about. So that's another thing too. Emily and Richard are a part of this game. I've actually run two other games of Traveler privately, obviously. But these stories are taking place in that same universe that they took place in. So Vasquez has actually appeared in two other Traveler games as an NPC, but she had both of her arms in those situations. So that's why, and Michael and the Space Police, they also were recurring NPCs in those 2 other games as well. So that's why now Rami obviously was a new one. HK was a new NPC for you guys. But there's a handful more out there. As far as NPCs go that existed in that. There's a whole thing with psionics that you guys haven't really touched on. That's what Arden is. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing I actually want to kind of talk about too, is a moment you guys kind of missed. So like, because Kaylin and your Aurelius issue, there was a moment when Michael flat out mentioned that he's pretty sure magic is real.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we didn't miss that. We just didn't get a chance to talk about it.
You guys didn't. No one ever brought it back up again. But yeah, Michael flat out stated that magic was real. So that is actually another reference to something else. As I mentioned at the beginning, that Michael and Michael especially, that's why Michael Tip is the only one who talks, because that's the only one that I've got any real characterization for is Michael. Grayson and Oren are actually based off of 2 of my friends. So I wrote a script a while ago called The Space Police. And that is where those 3 originate from.
I love it.
Is that. So that thing that when he was talking about his bounty, that big bounty got, that's actually the plot of the script of The Space Police. It's probably never going to happen, so that's why I decided to use it I kept it as their background.
Release the script.
Do it.
Post it.
I've got it somewhere. I'll dig it up. But I was going somewhere with that.
I thought you were going to talk about, like, didn't Michael make an appearance on another?
Yes, so I was a member. I'm a member of another podcast, but my life's been a little too topsy-turvy, so I haven't been a part of it in a while. But there's an episode where, as I mentioned, Michael is my recurring NPC, and in this other podcast, I was running a system called Pirates of the Bone Blade, which I pretty much only used the dice rolling aspect of it because the rest of it didn't fit with my ideas. It just uses 2d6. It's basically powered by the Apocalypse Light. And I used them that Oren got arrested on this backwater, this planet that this other podcast takes place on. It's a more fantasy-based kind of game, or a world that this other person has made. But they were involved in that, and that's how Michael was actually kind of... I'm trying to remember, but he's kind of stunned a little bit by what's happening around him because he's lived for a while and he's seeing things he's never thought he'd see. So that is actually that's actually an actual episode of another podcast that same Michael Dillon is a part of, where that occurs. Where he got the sword from was actually from that podcast that he was carrying with him, was because it was given to him by a guy in exchange for a gun.
You're gonna need some diehard Alex followers to pick up on all these Easter eggs.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, some of it is, like a lot of it's the stuff that I've been dealing with for years. Not dealing with, but stuff I've been doing for a while.
Sowing the
Michael's-
seeds for years. I mean, because there's a couple things that I think I knew, like Trevor Vintner was your name in a different game I played with you.
That was when we played Spelljammer.
Yes.
So Trevor Vintner was a Kalishtar Hexblade Warlock that I played.
Oh, you told me about that.
Yeah, and that game unfortunately kind of crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed because I really liked that character. So Trevor was actually just that character transplanted into Traveler.
Yes, 'cause
It's
I
not the
remember
same guy, obviously.
Noticing that.
But yeah, no, that was what that was. His actual name was Dalavash in that game because that's how Kalishtar named themselves. But he went by Trevor Vintner just because he liked that better than Dalavash. So, but yeah, Trevor was
Trevor's a
actually
cool character.
Trevor was just a transplant character from D&D.
So, pun not intended, but speaking of planting seeds, I really wanted you to get a chance to talk about your serum
Oh,
and
the green
the
stuff?
build up to that, because that was like a really cool moment, and we haven't touched on it yet.
Yeah, it was something that I knew early on I wanted to do science stuff, and I wanted to do plant things just because I like plant things. But it doesn't really allow for it in this system. So it was like, at one point we took random extra professions, and you were like, you can just do hydroponics if you want. And so, but there really weren't a lot of opportunities to roll for it either. And so I think because we had that big gap and we kind of knew now we're rocketing to the end of the season, I wanted to make sure we did something before the final episode. And honestly, I think if we hadn't, I don't know what we would have done because we were almost dead.
Yes, you're just like,
Yeah. So, I mean, that whole little bit too at the end, I mean, that was just because I rolled really fucking good. The whole speeding up, using the luck kind of thing, that may not have had to have happened. Like, that was just because I was really not wanting people to die before the end of season 1. Season 2, all bets are off.
Oh, yeah.
But
I can't
season
remember.
1, I wanted to keep everything going, with the same group. So that was why.
Yeah, I can't remember if I said, but I was mouthing to Richard to just let Squid die. I was
Yeah.
like, don't do it. Don't do it.
See, well, that was why I wanted it to be one of you guys getting hit by the flaming truck, because that reaction he had was what I knew was going to happen. Not new. I mean, you still could have like, no, fuck that guy. But,
But we knew.
freeloading bastard, I hope he fries.
Oh my god, it's great.
So, but yeah, that was kind of when that happened. I was like, all right, well, I don't want Squid to die, so I'm going to let Richard decide Saul's fate. You don't have an enemy anymore, by the way. You killed him.
I know. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gone.
You're gone.
But
sure
I think
we'll
the
make
rest
more.
of us have people that we still haven't met yet.
Yeah,
so there's
yeah.
other threads to
Yeah, I
pick up
forgot
on.
about all that. So
I know I have a rival,
You do
so-
have a rival somewhere. I think you have one too, don't you? No, you got.
No, he's got a-
Scott free.
Yeah. I don't think I had anybody, but now Raul's a contact.
A contact. That's
That
what
was
it
an
was.
Yeah.
ally.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my
Yeah,
ally.
he moved up in the list. But I
Yes.
think both Squid and Aster have people who whether blackened their name or who were like rivals. So we have a couple more threads
No.
to
Okay.
Yeah,
Get
so I'll
back
need to
on.
look at you guys' character sheets to figure that out. You'll need to give me names, but
Think of names.
But yeah, so my plans, like I said before, with season 2, there's gonna be some threads. Like I think I even brought it up in our group chat though, but like no one remembered to ask the space police how they got there so
right.
quickly.
That was too fast.
They got there really, really fucking fast. That's gonna be another plot thread that you guys can follow up on. That's probably gonna. I'm still gonna have an overarching plot, but I don't want it to be so in your face
Sure.
as this one was. I kind of want to do a little more of the opposite with that. So that's a plot. That's probably going to be like the immediate plot thread, I feel, because I know Emily mentioned that she wanted to ask about how that happened. You guys have time. So, but that's going to be kind of like the big overarching thing. And then, like I said, some weird shit's going to happen. But
So
I like weird stuff.
in the interim, what are we going to be doing?
Okay, so coming up, we during that downtime I had where I had a place to live at that point, but where I wasn't like in any condition to record anything, I went to my friendly local neighborhood game store game night, and I partook in a board game testing event. I forget what it's called.
Protospiel?
Yeah, that. I will never remember what it's called. So I went to that and I filled out my bingo card and I got to pick something from the table. And the thing I picked was a full fucking RPG system called Sentinel Comics. It came with the core book. It came with a bunch of blank character sheets and some other stuff too. But I'm going to be running a one shot of that coming up next. That'll be the next thing you guys will hear after that, and that'll be on the regular Tuesday. And then from there, I am going to be...
Can I just jump in real
Yeah.
quick on that? Yeah, like just shout out to Greater Than Games, the makers of Sentinel Comics. They were a St. Louis local
Yeah,
game
they're local to
company.
here.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's really,
Yeah.
really cool. So after that's done, I know at some point I am going to do a one-shot using Savage Worlds. Set in the same universe. It's going to be a prequel to this plot arc, just because I want to do it, because I like Savage Worlds. At another point as well, our dear friend Emily will be running a module, I believe, one of the Traveler modules. And I think for that, just for your sanity, we'll probably be a bit more by the book on character creation, stuff like that, because we actually did fuck up character creation a little bit.
Yeah, it was fun.
Initially, it still worked out
we
really
did.
well. As long as we had fun, that's the important part. But you actually should have taken Jack of all trades way back then. Because apparently I learned, and this is my fault completely for not reading words. When you roll your skill on the skill table, you actually get whatever that is at rank 1.
Yeah, we would be underskilled the whole
Yeah,
season,
you've been underskilled.
which made it exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you actually could
Good
have
Justin
actually
ups.
gotten Jack of all trades at rank 1. I just didn't know that, so that's my fault on that. But I've actually already got my initial character idea, my first career hopefully planned out. I fully intend on making my character a failed rock star.
Nice.
I've done 4 test rolls so far, though, and I've actually made him a really successful rock star on accident. He actually wound up at one point. He wound up like 15 education, 15 social standing,
Jeez.
and like 13
Whoa.
intelligence,
You could have used him.
Right?
and like a whole shit ton of whatever art. I think is what it is for performing
Art.
but
Nice.
that's where performance is.
Yeah.
It's under art.
I love it.
But I'm going to do Savage Worlds for a one shot with these guys. And Emily's going to do a module with us as well. Then season 2 will happen at some point. But another thing that I'm going to be running, this is going to be more of a long-term secondary thing. I'm going to upload that on a different day. I don't know what day it's going to be uploaded on, but I'm going to be running a game of Fallout, the RPG of that, and I'm going to have it take place in St. Louis because, as mentioned several times, it's where we live.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm going to have it take place in St. Louis.
Does that include Branson, Missouri?
So fun fact that you would ask that question.
Oh my God. This is great.
This was staged. No, I'm kidding.
That will actually be an area potentially you'll have to go to at some point.
That's hilarious.
I've always
Dollar
thought
City?
about that. Branson in Fallout universe would
Yeah.
be a wild place.
so that
Specifically, Silver Dollar City.
yeah, that's actually I read that on Reddit the other day where someone's like Silverado City is already the fucking Fallout universe.
Oh my god, really?
Well,
That's
it
so
already has the vibe. I was
does.
reading on the Fallout. I was looking where I found that map, the Fallout map of St. Louis. There was another comment chain going on that Silverado City would be DLC for a St. Louis.
Yes.
But
God.
so I'm going to do that as a concurrent game. So some folks from this show will be able to make it kind of as needed, but it's going to be some different people for that most likely. Just with guest stars from the original folks, but the core stuff, that's all going to be the same for with maybe a guest or two here and there as well, depending on the system and everything like that.
So you're stuck with us.
I am stuck with you guys. So,
We're not going anywhere.
but yeah, that's fair. But yeah, the superhero thing so far, Trey for sure, he'll be there
Yep.
as his hero, and I've already got 2 other people that have already made their characters. So those 2 are all ready to go. So it's gonna be 3 people for that at the bare minimum. So we'll just kind of figure out the rest of that. It's gonna be a one shot, and like I said, probably after that, then it's gonna be either Emily running a game or me doing the Savage Worlds thing. So we'll just kind of wing that and play it by ear. And then at one other point too, and this may or may not ever come to fruition, but I also have an idea given to me by one of my friends of doing a game of Vampire the Masquerade V5 taking place in 1970 St. Louis.
Whoa.
Nice.
So, but that requires a lot of research on my part. So,
Yeah.
I've been looking at so many places that were open in the 70s that are closed now, and like figuring out their businesses. So, fun fact for St. Louis natives: if it's going to take place in the 70s, Crestwood Mall will still be around,
Whoa.
Whoa, in the 70s?
and it's still going to be an outdoor mall
Wow.
at that point. So I have to
Throwback.
do a lot of research on that kind of stuff. Because yeah, it was an outdoor mall till the 80s.
The Loop was apparently cool in the 70s.
Yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of that stuff. Ted Drew's is still around in the 70s.
Sure.
So that'll
Trolley,
still be a
the
thing,
Loop
even though
trolley.
vampires can't eat food.
I was gonna say like Joya's was around in the 70s.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of studying on that, so that is a potential thing as well. But it's just a thing that I'm gonna do. So, but yeah, the Fallout one, that's gonna be a definite concurrent thing. I don't know when that one's gonna be ready to go because I still need to buy the book for it. But it's minor details.
So lots of things.
So I've got a lot of things. I've got a lot of things
Pipeline.
up in here, and of course, if anyone ever wants to, one of these other fine people want to run something, they're always welcome to. Yeah, I know Trey really wants to run something, but
Oh yeah, what do you want to run? Do you have an idea?
Literally, I'm not skilled enough to run anything that isn't 5e, so it's going to be D&D.
Okay, right on. Hey,
But you can always homebrew D&D into lots of different flavors, so it
Oh,
doesn't have to be fantasy.
It will
medieval.
be exclusively homebrew.
nice.
I have tried running modules and I'm not good at it.
yeah, I'm terrible at it too. I love talking about that. Like I said, my running game style is the collaborative version of it.
Yeah.
Because that's how I view these kind of things, is we're writing a story together, not me trying to kill you guys or anything like that, or
Right, sure.
you guys trying to defeat me. You guys, that's also why I picked you, because I also had a feeling you guys understood the idea of it isn't referee versus
No.
Yeah.
versus
and
you guys.
it
is
never came off that
the
way.
environment. So that's why I picked you guys, because I knew you guys didn't think that way. So But yeah, so that whole thing, like I said, ADD brain kicking in on that. But yeah, that whole thing was that's basically what it is. I'm going to be the superhero thing will be next, and then after that, Savage Worlds or Marooned on whatever the hell it's called. I forget what the name of that book is.
Traveler Side Quest.
Yeah, with me getting to play, which will be nice because I haven't played Traveler as a player. I probably haven't played that in like 15 years. So it's been a really long time since I played it as a player.
Sorry, it has to be with me.
So yeah, you'll be fine.
You'll be great.
I'm excited.
Yeah, same.
So, but yeah, that's all I got. Any more questions? Any more sidebars? Any more sandbars? Any more sand dollars?
I hate sand.
Any more golden dollars?
Corson gets everywhere.
I'm running out of things to.
No,
to
it was a
run
great.
into.
It was a great season.
It was a great season.
And I didn't know Paul or Trey before this campaign, so this was an excellent time, and I'm so excited for season 2.
Yeah.
And they always say it's not the destination, it's the friends you make along the way. And I got 2 really new awesome friends that I can't wait to play more RPGs with. This is great.
All right. Well, we'll catch you in the next one then.
No, I do have one more thing. To say.
One more thing.
So I'm actually going to dial back how much I edit things going forward.
Ooh,
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but having listened to some other things too, where they don't do it quite as heavily as I was doing it. Like I was even taking it like too many of my ums and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I was
you
like,
don't
I'm
do
not
that.
gonna do that.
Oh wow!
So
yeah,
much.
do all that.
So I'm not going to do that anymore. So that'll just be a thing. That's going to be a thing going forward. So,
Nice.
But now I'm out of things to say.
Now we're out.
It's still going to be the same split. So it's another thing too. I meant to say at the very beginning that we record everything like in one like 3-4 hour section, and then we kind of chop it up from there, or I chop it up from there, and probably going to keep that going. But I'm going to make that I'm going to make that more obvious that that's how it is. I mean, it's already pretty clear because we only introduce ourselves once every 3 episodes. So I'll leave that up to you guys to decide if you want to make introductions for every section.
We could.
Or if we want to have a clear structure of part one of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3,
I see.
or whatever, because we do have to chop it up just so that way we're not only putting things out once a month. So,
Yeah.
but I'll leave that up to you guys. We can talk about that later. So now I'm out of things to talk about.
Right. Okay.
Sounds good. Well, thank you all for listening.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to the people listening. I hope you liked season 1, and I
Yeah.
hope you stick around for season 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't be posting on the Traveler subreddit, non-Traveler things. So we pretty much just have to go off.
Yeah.
Because it's, I mean, the Sentinel Comics, they have their own subreddit that I can post that to and all that. But so yeah, this will be the last thing probably on the Traveler subreddit until either season 2 starts or Emily does her thing.
Season
So
1.5.
yeah, side season. But anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you all enjoyed season 1. It was really fun to make. And I'll see y'all in season 2. See you
Bye-bye.
later.
Bye.